You thought it was just chicken until your grilled fillet turned out to be 20% saltwater, starch, and lab chemicals. Some chains serve meat so processed it spikes your blood pressure before it hits your stomach, and chances are you've eaten it this week without even knowing. Let's start off with a place that once felt too wholesome to question. It smells like warm bread and trust. That's what hits you first at Panera. The soothing scent of sourdough and slow-roasted comfort tucked inside a cafe that still feels like a safe place for clean eating. For years, Panera was the go-to for health-conscious moms, college crammers, and anyone who wanted their chicken with a side of dignity. Baguettes felt artisanal, salad dressings tasted homemade, and that sliced chicken? Supposedly antibiotic-free before it was cool. They didn't just serve food, they sold reassurance. But here's where it gets slippery. The chicken still looks familiar. Those clean cuts, that even char. But today, that perfectly grilled breast is no more than a memory. Behind the counter, employees open vacuum-sealed bags of pre-cooked meat, factory tumbled with water, starches, vinegar, and dextrose. It's reheated in hot water or a turbo oven, held in metal pans, and portioned out like cafeteria rations with a gourmet disguise. Even the grill marks are fake, sprayed or seared on at the plant, designed to mimic the real thing, not taste like it. Here's where it gets weirder. Panera still talks the clean food talk, but in 2024, they quietly scrubbed ingredients like phosphates and sorbic acid from their no-no list. That's the same list that once made headlines for banning over 150 additives. Why the U-turn? Cost savings, according to leaked internal documents. The same memos instructed managers to take down wall art proclaiming no antibiotics ever. The change wasn't announced. It was absorbed silently into the wallpaper of progress. And the sodium? That's the real secret sauce. Their teriyaki chicken bowl packs 1,730 milligrams of it, nearly 3/4 of your recommended daily max. Even half a spicy chicken ciabatta clocks 1,330 milligrams. Order the full sandwich and congratulations, you just passed your daily sodium limit before finishing your drink. For older adults with high blood pressure or kidney concerns, this isn't just a surprise. It's a health risk masked in melted cheese and aioli. So why is this even allowed? Because USDA guidelines let raw chicken carry up to 15% added solution. Water, salt, phosphates, as long as it's labeled somewhere. But restaurants? They're exempt from putting that information in your face. That's how you can sit down to a clean sandwich that's quietly loaded with brine, preservatives, and enough starch to turn your lunch into a science project. Ever wonder why your old favorite sandwich doesn't hit the same anymore? Reddit's full of loyalists calling the new chicken rubbery, bland, or deli meat with stripes. Some say they only noticed the difference when the texture gave them heartburn. Others mention ditching the new chicken altogether, paying extra to swap proteins after medical procedures. Panera used to lead the charge on clean food. Now, it's chasing fried chicken trends while clinging to a wellness image. The result? Factory reheated poultry posing as premium cafe fare. The bread's still crusty, the soup's still warm, and the fireplace still flickers. But behind the counter, the trust is cooling off. How do you feel about a brand that once promised clean food quietly changing the rules? Let us know in the comments. But if you think that's disappointing, wait until you see which next chain's chicken barely qualifies as meat. The moment you bite into a Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich, it still feels legit. That crunch, the tingling pepper heat, the familiar slather of mayo oozing onto cold lettuce, it's all there. Nostalgia does a lot of heavy lifting. It whispers, this is the same sandwich you dared your high school friends to eat without a drink. But under the breading, things have changed. Quietly. And a lot. Wendy's built its brand on a single promise. Fresh, never frozen beef. But here's the trick. Your brain transfers that slogan to everything else, chicken included. And that's where the sleight of hand happens. Here's the twist. That spicy chicken fillet? Just 56% actual chicken breast. The rest? Water, starch, oil, acidity regulators, and binding agents designed to hold it all together like a meat-flavored sponge. It's plumped, a factory injection of brine and chemicals that keep the patty moist, bouncy, and perfectly shaped, no matter how long it waits under the heat lamp. Sodium phosphates play lead role here. They make each bite taste firmer, springier, juicier, but it's manufactured juiciness, not real food moisture. They also come with baggage. Studies link long-term phosphate intake to higher blood pressure and kidney stress, especially in older adults. So when one sandwich hits 2,200 milligrams of sodium, you're already brushing up against your daily limit before you even unwrap the fries. But wait, It gets saltier. Add a medium fry, and your lunch combo can hit over 4,000 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly triple what cardiologists recommend for people with heart conditions or high blood pressure, which, let's be honest, includes a big slice of Wendy's core audience. Boomers, budget families, people who still believe in Dave Thomas's handshake. So where's the fresh part? Behind the scenes, the chicken comes frozen, Tyson boxes, pre-breaded, pre-shaped, ready for the fryer. One ex-employee even said, "Buy Tyson nuggets and fry them at home. You'll have Wendy's." It went viral because people wanted it to be false, but it wasn't. And about those nuggets, just 10 pieces land you with 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's marketed as kid-friendly. Think about that. Here's where it gets weirder. Wendy's now uses one all-day fillet across breakfast and lunch, a square, restructured patty that some managers call a watered-down super nugget. It's shaped for speed, not quality. Franchisees complained, customers noticed, but the rollout stayed. Why? It's cheaper, easier, more scalable. Even their made-to-crave line just slaps queso or ghost pepper ranch on the same core fillet. Nothing changes underneath, just more sauce, more sodium, more cover. So what do you do with a chain that still markets juicy chicken breast while quietly re-engineering the entire texture in a factory? Is that flavor? Or is it science? Drop your thoughts below. Should brands be required to say how much actual meat is in your sandwich? Because we're not done yet. And what's next might be even crispier, but for all the wrong reasons. The smell hits first. That oddly sweet steam curling up from the Subway counter as your sandwich slides out of a speed oven, warm bread, tangy sauce, and something vaguely meaty. It smells almost right. But there's a reason it never quite hits like it used to. What looks like a grilled chicken strip or a tidy patty of roasted white meat? It's actually a lab-built blend of poultry and performance enhancers. Subway's own site quietly admits it. Their chicken is tumbled in a brine of starches, flavorings, phosphates, and thickeners. You're not just eating meat, you're eating a moisture retention strategy. Here's where it gets weirder. Back in the 90s, Subway's fresh promise wasn't just marketing. Ex-employees talk about opening meat packs only when needed, slicing in-store, even trimming the chicken themselves. That era is long gone. Today, nearly everything arrives vacuum-sealed, pre-cooked, and engineered to survive frozen transport and rapid reheating in those miracle ovens they lease to franchisees. The result? Chicken that feels wet but oddly firm. Strips that somehow manage to be rubbery and dry. Customers have called out the texture, but it's not a fluke, it's by design. That char you see on the shreds? It's cosmetic, a paint-on-grill effect, courtesy of high-speed batch processing. Still think you're getting whole meat? Let's talk numbers. One of Subway's own labels notes that its chicken patties contain 2% or less soy protein and modified starch. But an independent DNA test by CBC in Canada found something a bit harder to swallow. Only 54% actual chicken in the oven-roasted patty. And the teriyaki strips? Just 43%. Subway sued over it. Lost. Then had to pay $500,000 in court fees. That report? Still circulating. But this part might surprise you. A 6-inch sweet onion chicken teriyaki packs about 1,250 milligrams of sodium. That's already over half the daily limit for older adults. Get a foot-long oven-roasted chicken pro, and you're staring down 1,800 milligrams before adding chips or soda. Think the healthier option is helping? Might be time to rethink that. Why does this matter? Because the USDA lets companies call it 100% white meat, as long as the additives don't exceed 15% of raw weight. So Subway just tucks the rest into PDFs most customers never open. You'll see words like seasoning, marinade, and natural flavors, but never the phrase enhanced poultry, even if that's exactly what it is. And the Eat Fresh Refresh campaign? That wasn't a recipe revival. It was a brand rehab. They swapped the old patty-style chicken for saucier, cheaper cuts, quietly. Customers noticed, Reddit blew up, but the change stuck. So here's the big question. Would you still order that sweet onion chicken if the board said 43% chicken DNA, reheated in under 60 seconds? Tell us in the comments, has your go-to Subway order lost its flavor over the years? Because if that's what passes for chicken on the menu, wait till you see what they're stuffing into the next one. That warm, buttery bun. The first bite that gives way to crisp edges. a little tang from the pickle, and that perfectly seasoned juicy center. Chick-fil-A knows how to hit a nostalgic nerve. For a lot of us, it's the taste of childhood road trips, mall food courts, and after-school bribes. And with polite employees and a hand-breaded promise, it's no wonder people still insist it's the one fast food place that's different. But here's the thing, different doesn't always mean better. The classic chicken sandwich that feels so clean and simple, it brings more than 50 additives to the party. That filet you thought was just chicken? It was pre-soaked in a lab-grade marinade packed with sugar, salt, MSG, yeast extract, aluminum phosphate, and even dimethyl polysiloxane. That last one's better known as the stuff that stops fryer oil from bubbling over. Here's where it gets sneakier. Chick-fil-A's grilled options sound like the lighter choice, right? But each grilled filet can contain up to 17% of what's called solution, basically water, starch, and chemical flavor stabilizers that bulk up the meat and lock in moisture through punishing heat cycles. It's not just a marinade, it's engineering. Even those tidy grill marks, many are pre-stamped before the meat even hits the kitchen. So that high-tech two-sided grill? It's mostly for reheat and sear, not for cooking raw meat like you'd expect. Think about this. When the USDA allows water, phosphates, and starches to make up nearly a fifth of your grilled chicken's weight, should it still be labeled chicken breast? Technically, yes. But does that feel honest? And we haven't even touched the salt. A single Chick-fil-A deluxe sandwich with pepper jack cheese delivers 1,610 milligrams of sodium. Add waffle fries and sweet tea, and you're inching toward 4,000 milligrams in one sitting, well above the daily limit for adults with hypertension or kidney concerns. It's the kind of combo that turns a wholesome lunch into a medical curveball, especially for the grandparents treating their grandkids. But this part might surprise you. That feel-good, no antibiotics ever promise? Walked back in 2024, quietly. They now follow a less strict standard that still allows certain antibiotics, just not the ones considered essential to human medicine. It's a big shift, and it happened with little fanfare outside a few updated web pages and corporate press releases. For a brand that built its image on trust, the silence said a lot. Behind the fryers and smiley service, the supply chain tells a messier story. Chick-fil-A has sourced from poultry giants like Tyson and Pilgrim's Pride, companies tied to lawsuits over price fixing and wage suppression. In fact, Chick-fil-A itself sued them in 2020 for allegedly inflating the cost of breast meat. That fried perfection in your combo? It's part of a much bigger economic game. So what do you think? Does hand-breaded in store still mean what it used to? Let us know. Have you noticed a change in texture, flavor, or trust when it comes to Chick-fil-A's chicken? Just when it couldn't get more questionable, the next chain turns chicken into a chemistry experiment. It still smells the same. That coppery, cayenne-kissed aroma wafting out of the drive-thru window. That first audible crunch as your teeth hit the batter. For longtime Popeyes fans, the sensory memory is locked in. The orange buckets, the sizzling boxes, the southern fried joy. But peel back the nostalgia, and what's underneath might leave you queasy. Because the chain's famous flavor, it's now built on a base of lab-tweaked poultry that's often more brine than bird. Their classic bone-in chicken, it comes pre-injected with up to 12% solution, a blend of water, MSG, salt, and oil-based seasoning that's added long before it ever hits the flour bin. Their tenders? Try 30% solution, including carrageenan, a moisture retention agent better known from processed deli meats than down-home cooking. And the fillets that made their viral sandwich a national headline? They're loaded up with phosphates and modified food starch, adding weight and extending shelf life while keeping that juicy bite consistent, even if it's not really chicken consistency anymore. Here's where it gets weirder. Legally, they can still call all of this 100% chicken, thanks to a USDA loophole that allows up to 15% added liquid without needing to disclose it on menus. It's all spelled out in dense regulatory codes, but for customers ordering in a hurry, it's invisible. Enhanced becomes natural. A third brine becomes tender. And it all happens behind a wall of marketing that still leans on Louisiana heritage like it's 1982. But that salt? It's not just seasoning, it's a problem. A single Popeye's breast has over 200 milligrams of sodium, more than half your daily limit in one piece of chicken. 3 tenders? Nearly 120 milligrams. Even their lighter blackened tenders, with no breading, come pre-marinated in salt-heavy solutions that push numbers beyond what most dietitians would call casual. Now add in the trans fats, the phosphate load, and a beef tallow frying blend designed to stretch fryer oil into double shifts. It's a recipe that hits flavor goals while working overtime on your kidneys, blood pressure, and cardiovascular system. Researchers have flagged this kind of phosphate-heavy chicken as a serious health risk, especially for older adults, and the FDA doesn't require clear front-facing warnings. So if you're ordering Popeyes for your parents, are you also handing them an unintentional health bomb? And it's not just the meat. Reddit and employee videos describe par-cooked pieces sitting beyond safe hold times, spicy chicken being neglected because it sells slower, and famous gravy pouches boiled straight in plastic. A blackened sandwich may sound cleaner, but it's still dunked in sodium, slapped on a bun with chemical-laced pickles, and dressed with xanthan-stabilized mayo. Even their packaging tells a story. Independent tests found fluorinated, forever chemicals in Popeye's wrappers. PFAS compounds still showing up in sandwich sleeves as of last year, despite corporate promises to remove them by 2025. But this part might surprise you. That viral chicken sandwich that sparked a national frenzy? It's the very item that cemented their reliance on MSG, phosphates, and ultra-engineered breast meat. And the more customers demanded crunch, the more science got baked into the crust. So here's the question. Do you still love that chicken from Popeyes, or do you just love what it used to be? Drop a comment and tell us where the line is for you. Does flavor outweigh the formula? Because the next stop on this list may not come with a catchy jingle, but what they're serving might be even more misleading. The red and white bucket used to mean something. It meant Friday night with greasy fingers and a glass bottle Pepsi. It meant church potlucks and paper plates so flimsy they buckled under the weight of extra crispy thighs. It meant Kentucky Fried Chicken was an experience, not just a drive-through decision. But that smell coming from your combo box today? It's not the same bird. Modern KFC chicken is soaked, injected, and tumbled in solutions that can make up 43% of the meat's weight. We're talking soy protein, rice starch, carrageenan, sodium phosphate, chemistry class names dressed up as enhancement. Even the original recipe arrives brined and stabilized long before the kernel's spice blend ever hits it. And because USDA rules let this stuff be sold as natural, most people never realize they're eating nearly half brine. Here's the wild part. This trick actually has a name, plumping. It adds weight, stretches profit margins, and loads every piece with more sodium and phosphorus than you'd find in fresh chicken. One breast, 1,190 milligrams of sodium. That's before biscuits, sides, or dipping sauces even show up. Now imagine feeding that to someone on blood pressure meds. But this part might surprise you. The same tender you just paid for may have been pressure fried in a sealed metal tank filled with chemically preserved soybean canola oil. Additives like TBHQ, dimethylpolysiloxane, and citric acid aren't printed on your tray liner, but they're working behind the scenes to extend fryer life and keep foam from bubbling over. It's not just what's in the chicken, it's how fast it's made. Employees on Reddit describe crates of never-frozen meat that still arrive pre-portioned and swimming in cold water to help the breading stick. From there, it's spice bags, racks, timers, and oil baths. Factory precision wrapped in a folksy brand story. Even KFC's grilled chicken? It's not grilled. It's convection baked, with grill marks seared in by hot metal plates. That smoky flavor? Straight from oil infused with liquid smoke. No flames, no backyard aroma, just the illusion of open fire goodness. And when the illusion cracks, it gets messy. Cases like the 8 million food poisoning lawsuit in Australia or the UK chicken shortage that forced hundreds of stores to shut down overnight show how fragile the system really is. Sometimes the biggest threat isn't the meat, it's the margin. So why does that nostalgic aroma still hit so hard? Because KFC's marketing still whispers the old story. Hand-breaded, fresh, made with care. But the truth is closer to a chemical equation than a family recipe. And for diners paying with their health, especially older adults managing sodium or phosphorus intake, those tweaks aren't just technical, they're personal. Do you think a bucket that's nearly half solution should still be called fried chicken? Drop a comment and tell us where nostalgia ends and transparency should begin. Because the next place on this list, let's just say their chicken isn't just enhanced. It might not even start as chicken the way you think. The golden crunch, the puff of steam, the exact shade of beige that only exists inside a McDonald's nugget box. McDonald's chicken doesn't just trigger memories, it weaponizes them. But underneath all that crispy nostalgia is a product that's been quietly re-engineered, reshaped, and reformulated until 100% chicken feels more like a marketing pitch than a full sentence. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. What you're biting into isn't a whole cut or even a traditional patty. It's emulsified white meat, blended with water, cornstarch, sodium phosphates, and a seasoning slurry. then molded into one of 4 trademarked nugget shapes, par-fried in a factory, frozen, and flash-fried again in store. It's not just processed, it's pre-fried performance food. And if that sounds clinical, consider the function. Phosphate additives aren't just preservatives, they're muscle manipulators. They break down the meat's natural structure so it can absorb more water, lock in artificial juiciness, and stay tender even when reheated from a freezer bag. But these same additives? They've been flagged by nephrologists for increasing phosphorus load, especially dangerous for people with kidney or heart conditions. So that harmless 10-piece? It's not just salty. It's chemically engineered to feel moist while delivering over 1,500 milligrams of sodium when paired with fries and a soda. Here's what most people miss. McDonald's switched to all-white meat in 2003. But in doing so, they also thinned the interior layer of meat, widened the air gap between batter and protein, and dialed in that puffed, crispy shell, just enough to trigger memory while quietly giving you less food. Some former corporate chefs have admitted the change wasn't just about health, it was about volume. Less meat, more coating, same bite. Doesn't it make you wonder how much of that texture is nostalgia and how much is just clever layering? And while McDonald's publicly parades its antibiotic-free chicken wins, those headlines tend to overshadow the bigger reality. The core ingredients and processing methods haven't changed much. Even the McCrispy sandwich is pre-seasoned with brine, sugar, and phosphates, then hit with fryer oil that includes dimethyl polysiloxane to keep it from foaming under stress. Now, zoom out. This isn't just one sandwich. McDonald's has 13,000-plus U.S. locations, all supplied by vertically integrated poultry giants like Tyson and Keystone. These suppliers handle the grinding, the shaping, the partial frying, even the chemical blends. McDonald's just heats and assembles. The storybook illusion of a cook flipping patties in the back? That's been dead for years, but this part might surprise you. The nugget you're eating in New York isn't the same as the one in London or Toronto. Ingredients change, oil types vary, and label loopholes are everywhere. In the UK, 100% chicken breast includes only 45% actual meat by finished weight. In Canada, flavor enhancers sneak in under seasoning. In the US, injected brine hides behind the word marinated. So next time you pop one of those familiar little shapes into your mouth, ask yourself, how much of this bite is real food and how much is just the memory of one? What's your theory? Are the nuggets actually getting smaller, or are we just waking up to what they've always been? And if this is what real chicken looks like at the world's biggest chain, just wait till you hear what the next one is doing with the leftovers. A flash of orange foil, a crunch that echoes through the car, and that weirdly addictive blast of salt, pepper, and fryer grease. Jack in the Box chicken was once a little chaotic in the best way. They made its mark with rebellious swagger, commercials that screamed different, sandwiches that felt like late-night gold. But over time, that crunch turned suspiciously uniform, the flavor oddly artificial. And if you've had a cluck sandwich lately and thought, this kind of tastes like cafeteria food, you're not imagining things. The fillets don't just look processed, they're built that way. Each crispy chicken piece starts as injected breast meat, loaded with water, sugar, salt, MSG, yeast extract, and sodium phosphates, before it's tumbled through layers of rice flour, cellulose gum, and batter boosters. What lands in your combo meal might be technically chicken, but it's also part brine, part starch, part science experiment. But here's where it flips. The nuggets stretch it further. Blended soy protein and modified cornstarch get mixed right into the chicken itself. Then the whole thing's leavened with 4 different types of phosphate salts to puff it just enough to feel crispy, but still collapse in a soft, salty chew. So what does 100% all-white meat really mean when 15% of the weight is water and binders? And how many of us ever realize that? Legally, they can call it chicken. The USDA only requires that the added solution is mentioned in small print. As long as they don't use the word enhanced in the name, it slides right through. And once it's coated, frozen, and fried a second time under fluorescent lights, the illusion is locked in. Now imagine the scale. Everything arrives pre-cooked, vacuum-sealed, and factory-fried, complete with fake grill marks on the grilled fillets. Even the wraps, hailed as a win for 90s nostalgia, just reuse the same pre-breaded strips with sauces thickened by phosphate-laced dairy powders. Here's a detail that might stop you mid-bite. 3 chicken strips from Jack in the Box deliver 1,760 milligrams of sodium. That's already beyond what cardiologists recommend for the whole day. Pair it with fries and a drink, and you're cruising past 2,200 milligrams, and that's before dipping sauce. And for seniors, that's not just a salt bomb, it's a phosphorus problem. Those phosphate additives are absorbed almost entirely by the body, and research links them to accelerated kidney damage and arterial calcification. But you'd never know that by reading the nutrition panel because phosphorus content isn't even required to be listed. So here's the question. How much of this is flavor? And how much is illusion? Are we actually eating chicken, or just the memory of what it used to be? If that's what counts as poultry in one kitchen, imagine what's passing inspection in the next. It's the smell, more than anything. That warm blend of fried breading, oil-soaked paper sleeve, and something vaguely nostalgic, like your dad's old car and a post-soccer treat rolled into one. Burger King built that memory with the original chicken sandwich, a long, sesame-seeded submarine nestled in its white paper holster. Back in 1979, it felt almost elegant for a burger joint. Not just a nugget or a drumstick, but a specialty item, something you bragged about ordering. But nostalgia has a cruel sense of humor. Today's version? Shrunk, mushy, bland. Reddit threads from loyal fans read like breakup letters. And if you've had one lately and thought, this doesn't taste like it used to, you're not being sentimental. It really doesn't. Here's where it gets weird. That fillet you bit into, it's not just chicken. It's breast meat injected with up to 18% solution. Water, salt, chicken fat, maltodextrin, yeast extract, dextrose, and sodium phosphate. All legally allowed, as long as it says contains solution somewhere on the back end of the fine print. So what used to feel like a real cut of meat now acts more like a sponge. The phosphate holds in the water, the added fat mimics juiciness, and the starches keep it all from falling apart under heat lamps. In the end, it's a moisture retention science project wearing a golden breadcrumb disguise. But that sandwich is just the start. Burger King's nuggets? About 780 milligrams of sodium in a 10-piece. Chicken fries? 850. The portions feel snack-sized, but the salt loads are brutal. Add a dipping sauce or two and you're creeping past your daily sodium max before finishing your lunch break. So who's really at risk? Well, look around most BK dining rooms on a weekday. Middle-aged and older diners, many managing blood pressure or early-stage kidney issues, are unknowingly swallowing the exact ingredients their doctors told them to avoid. One Royal Crispy Sandwich combo can pack over 2,100 milligallons of sodium. That's stealth damage, served in a wrapper that says 100% white meat. You might be wondering, didn't they try to fix this? They did. The short-lived Chick-fil-A sandwich promised hand breading in stores, an ambitious marketing leap that fell apart behind the scenes. Staff called it messy and inconsistent. Within a year, it vanished. Its replacement? Fully frozen, fully coated, and fully processed. Back to basics, but not in a good way. And even the wraps, pitched as lighter fare, sneak in a third of your sodium target with a single $2.99 handheld. Dietitians noticed. Most customers didn't. Here's a detail you probably haven't seen. In some international BK kitchens, staff brag that their nuggets are made like McDonald's, which is somehow not a compliment. And that same phosphate-boosted flash-fried chicken is shipped globally, only changing slightly depending on the country's starch preferences. The emotional gap is hard to ignore. We remember celebration meals and childhood stops, but behind the counter, it's all injected moisture, centralized suppliers, and shrink-wrap nostalgia with a side of artery-hardening salt. So what happened to that specialty sandwich that once felt fancy? Maybe it's still there, buried under a marinade of marketing and preservatives. Or maybe it disappeared the moment chicken became a chemistry formula. Because if you thought this was a clever illusion, wait until you see how the next chain bends the definition of roasted until it's almost unrecognizable. The crunch hits first, loud, hollow, and almost too perfect. Then comes the grease. Not the kind that melts off real fried chicken, but the type that clings to your lips like chapstick and turns the paper wrapper translucent in seconds. This is Checkers and Rallies, where nostalgia pulls you in, but chemistry does most of the cooking. People still talk about those drive-through nights in the 90s when the chicken felt like chicken. Peppery, uneven fillets hot enough to fog up your windshield. Back then it was messy in the right way. Now, that same classic mother cruncher looks more like a textbook diagram. Square-edged, pounded flat, crust thick enough to sound engineered. That's because it is. The chain doesn't exactly hide the fact that these all-white meat patties go through a pre-seasoned, pre-breaded, deep-freeze journey before you ever see them. They arrive in sealed bags, loaded with binders like rice starch, wheat gluten, and not one but 3 types of phosphates. These additives don't just season the meat, they inflate it, locking in water, crisping up the crust, and giving the illusion of bulk. Here's where it gets sneakier. Despite phrases like lightly fried and made with real breast meat, the finished sandwich packs 2,270 milligrams of sodium. That's just the standard version. The Bacon BBQ Cruncher crosses 3,000, meaning one lunch hits red alert levels for anyone managing blood pressure or kidney issues. Even a few tenders with seasoned fries can tip a full day's salt allowance in a single meal. So what are you actually tasting? A cocktail of injected brine, puffed breading, and pre-fried everything. Reddit threads from former employees describe raw center tenders being served during rushed shifts. One viral post from Georgia showed a pink interior, and hundreds of workers chimed in to say it's not that rare. Think that's bad? Try this. In 2019, a Florida location was shut down after rats were found in the fryer, the same fryer used for chicken. In 2024, managers in Alabama were busted for altering time cards and cutting corners during understaffed lunch hours. Workers admitted to skipping full cook times just to keep up with the drive-through line. Still hungry? Checkers has never published an animal welfare policy. They source from commodity suppliers and were part of a massive lawsuit accusing poultry giants of inflating wholesale prices. Even the food styling plays tricks. Employee TikToks show frozen pucks with pre-printed grill marks, so they can sell you on char flavor without ever turning on a grill. And the pricing? 2 sandwiches for $9.99 may sound generous, but together they deliver 1.4 grams of sodium before you add sides. It's an optical illusion. Split the deal with a friend and everyone feels lighter, even as the salt tally silently climbs. Is the chicken awful? Not always. But is it what your brain remembers from 1997? Absolutely not. What's the one fast food chicken sandwich that tasted better in your memory than it does today? Let us know below. I'll be reading through your stories, so drop them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.